Alright, so I'm getting ready to put the new decals on the front plastic for the 91 Suzuki Quadrunner LT 230E. They're going to go along here on each side. So I'm pretty much prepped and ready to go for the most part. I just polished up this plastic. If you saw my last video, that's the rear plastic. That hasn't been done yet, so you can see what the polishing did made quite a difference. So obviously I want to get that done first. I didn't want to put the decals on and then do damage to them. So here's the decals that are going to go on. These are no longer available through Suzuki. I looked for quite a while. I ended up finding a guy that reproduced them for me. He did a great job. If you ever need decals reproduced, he does a lot of the old ATC and ATV stuff from the 80s and 90s, and I believe he does custom work too, so he'll probably pretty much do anything that you need done for an ATV or an ATC, but he did an outstanding job. That's one of his stickers right there, Dr. Slap. You can find him on Facebook. He's really good at getting back to you. If you message him on Facebook, you'll usually get a quick response, an automated response, and then you'll usually hear from them, within 24 to 48 hours. So this is basically what I had to send them. These were obviously the set that was on the one side of the quad. I had to heat them up and peel them off the best I could and then tape them onto some paper. But when I did that, I did some damage to them, kind of got it warped. It's kind of shaped like this. But he was still able to take these and scan them into a system, and it's not just that simple. You don't just scan them in and go. He still had to do a lot of custom work to get them right, especially getting this straightened out. He wasn't sure how straight he was going to be able to get it, but if you look at the new one here, you can see he nailed it. He got it perfect. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what these look like on the plastic. But Dr. Slap, he definitely comes highly recommended. Alright, so I'm going to get the surface prepped before we go ahead and start installing these decals, and I'm actually going to take this inside. It's January in upstate New York, and we got lucky there for a while. We had 40s, 50s, even almost hit 60 the other day, which is very unusual, but now we're back down into the low 20s, so definitely want to do this inside where the plastic will be warm and the decals will be warm. But I'm going to prep this real quick. I just want to show you what I'm going to use. I'm going to use this Duplicolor prep spray. It's a grease and wax remover. So I'm going to take a clean rag and obviously clean the surface on both sides. And after that, I'm actually going to use a little bit of denatured alcohol also. Make sure we got all the grime off and everything. It'll probably dull these down a little bit. I just polished them, but once I get the decals on and they set up for a few days or whatever, by hand I'll polish around them a little bit. Just going to explain a little bit how I put decals on. That's kind of the purpose of this video, is to show how to install decals on plastics. This is my son's CR125. I did all new graphics on this over the summer. So anyhow, the way I do it, and I'll show better once I'm doing the actual install on the plastic that I'm working on now, but I want to show you on this basically what I do, and there's a lot of ways to do it. If you ask 5 different people, they'll probably tell you 5 different ways. The main thing obviously is get your surface clean. That's the most important thing, is to prep. But usually what I do with a larger decal like this, and some of them actually already come this way, on the back side of it, you'll have the backing paper, and sometimes there's a slit through the middle, so you can just take off half at a time. If not, I try to peel it back and cut half off. So what I do is I'll take the top of the decal and I'll tape it in several sections so you get it exactly where you want it, and then the bottom half you'll peel the paper off, and then basically you'll work from halfway down and you'll get that set. Once that's set, then you don't got to worry about the decal moving anymore, and then I'll take the tape off, peel this side down, take the backing off, and then work from the center up. Alright, so I'm getting ready to put these on now. Indoors. It's about 68 degrees in the house, so it's a good temperature to work with. Just wanted to show you, when you have a decal set like this, just remember you have a left side and a right side. So just obviously make sure you put it on the right side, or you won't be happy with yourself. The 230 ones are a left and a right, but the actual Quadrunner is not a left and a right, because that's not going to make any difference. Obviously, you're going to read from left to right, and then the same thing on the other side, you'll be reading left to right. Also, what I'm going to do, because I've had these decals for actually over a year now, they were stored indoors, so I'm sure they would be fine, but I'm actually going to take my heat gun and very lightly from the back side here, I'm just going to slightly heat that up. I'm not going to get right on top of it with the heat gun, because you'll end up warping the decals and destroying them. Just stay back, and you just want to heat it up a little bit. You're not looking to get it hot or anything, just something to reactivate the adhesive a little bit. Alright, so once you got your decal in place where you know where you want it, like I said, I get one side taped down, stick. Once you got it taped down like that, because this is such a narrow decal, rather than work top to bottom this way, I'm going to work left to right. So I'm going to start from this side and get probably about a third of it set in place. Then I can start working in the opposite direction. As you're getting this set on there, definitely be real careful, even with your fingers. Try not to touch anywhere where the decal is going to go, because you have all kinds of oils in your hands. Even if you just wash them with soap and water, you always got natural oil on your fingers, and that will affect the decal sticking. So when I do these, I like using my fingers to set the decal in place. You got to be real careful. Try not to get air bubbles in there. You can also use like a credit card. This happens to be a Dave & Buster's card. Be careful if you're using a credit card, because sometimes they are sharp on the edges, so just make sure it's not sharp. Test it on something. These are good decals, obviously, so when you get a good decal like this, a high quality one, you're going to have the backing where the adhesive is going to be, and then you also have this covering on the front of it. And that way, when you're doing this, you're not actually on the decal itself doing damage to it. You're on this this paper on the front. So if you have quality decals, they'll definitely come like this. Try to keep this held back. Don't just put the whole decal on. If you go ahead and try to push that flat all in one shot, you're definitely going to get some air behind it. You want to start from back here, and you want to work your way away from it. And don't be in a hurry. I probably take a lot longer than I have to, but I'd rather take my time and end up with no air bubbles. If you get air bubbles, they're next to impossible to get out. You can try to poke holes in them and get the air out, and it works. Sometimes I've taken a razor blade and slit a little bit and got the air out that way, but you always end up with a mark. You know, it won't look horrible, but it's better than a bubble. Make sure you get the edges really good. So once you got that on like that, take your credit card, or they actually make little squeegees to put on decals. I have one somewhere, but I have no idea where it is, so this will work. Again, just be careful, make sure there's nothing sharp on there. And this way, if there's any air in here that got trapped in between, hopefully you can work it out towards the edges, but I don't feel any in there, so I think we're good. All right, now that we got one section completely adhered, now you can go ahead and take your tape off, because this can't go up or down or left and right now at this point. This end will move freely a little bit, but not going to hurt anything. All right, so now take your other half or your other 2/3 and take this and peel the rest of that off. And again, take your time. Again, make sure you hold this out. If you go ahead and lay that down, you're guaranteed to have air bubbles. Keep working yourself to the outside edges. All right, now that we got the whole thing adhered on there, again, take your credit card or your squeegee, and before we peel off this paper, we're just going to go over it a little bit more. Might seem like overkill, but if you want these decals to stay on and not come off in the car wash, it's worth the extra time. Then I always go around at the end and just pushed out my finger around all the edges to kind of seal the edges in, because that's where it's going to start peeling up if it does. So okay. All right, so now we're going to remove the front paper. Just peel your corner back. When you do this, do it slowly, be delicate, and you'll see what I do. You kind of want to pull it at like a 45-degree angle, I would say. You don't just want to go pulling it straight. And there we go. Looks good. I got the next one to do underneath here, and then of course the other side. So I'm going to videotape the rest of the process, but when I edit the video, I'll probably do it in like 3 times the speed, so you don't have to watch a half an hour's worth of me putting the stickers on. But obviously the other ones are going to be the same way, same process I just did. Again, take your time and make sure you got a clean surface. That's the most important thing. So there's the end result. Everything came out good, no bubbles, no issues on this side. Same thing on this side, no bubbles, no issues. Definitely really satisfied with the quality of these decals. They went on flawlessly, really. They look great. So basically that's the gist of it. The biggest thing, again, like I said before, is your prep work. Make sure everything's clean, and just take your time putting them on, and make sure you put a lot of pressure down on the decals, and all the outside edges are sealed and should be good to go. Should get years out of these decals if you take care of them.